This is Catholic Forum. I'm Bob Krebs. Many young people who were baptized and raised Catholic have, for whatever reason, fallen away from the practice of their faith. This is heartbreaking to the parents and grandparents who have tried to pass on the faith to the next generation. But there is an organization of mothers who are doing something about it. Jane Van Houten is on the national team of Millions of Monicas, and she joins us today here on Catholic Forum. Jane, welcome to the program.
So glad to be here, Bob. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, we're going to be talking about this organization, which I think is fairly new. Before we get into that, Jane, if you would please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a mother of four beautiful children. I am a music minister at a very large parish in Ada, Michigan. I have been in music ministry and ministry of church most of my life. I'm a piano performance major. I love music in every way. And I was a teacher at one time as well. So my call to this was more out of my own personal experience, but that's who I am. I have beautiful four children, boy and three girls, and a wonderful husband, John, who's been my rock.
So how did Millions of Monicas come about?
It really became a situation where we had two struggling moms with their children moving away from the church. And I know everybody can relate to that. That's kind of been a growing trend. Um, we kind of were calling each other and saying, we need to do something. How do we help the situation? Because I was seeing it also within the parish with other moms. And we decided to start praying for one another's children. So we did a rosary every week. That's how it kind of started. And then we started doing intercessions to St. Monica, who was the queen of intercession for children to be converting.
Yeah,
Um,
tell us about that. In case our listeners might not be aware of St. Monica's story, tell us about how she's been the inspiration.
St. Monica is an unusually, at first, I never really enjoyed her because she seemed so sullen and unhappy, and for so long having such a, a prayer for her son Augustine, who became an extraordinary, you know, part of the church history and fathers. He was a troubled youth and went through many difficult times, which we can all relate to. And Monica steadfastly read, just continually um, prayed for him, and was very simple in her many years of doing that. And it was a major conversion, as we all know, of Saint Augustine, who became a huge part of uh, converting hearts as well in terms of all Christendom.
When did you first start the Millions of Monicas program in your parish? How long ago has it been?
We started only about 2 years ago. It was June of 2021. And we just saw the need of it, and we just kind of began slowly. We realized we needed millions of Monicas, hence the name. We need millions of Monicas. We all need to pray together, and to have that oasis of peace is really key to what we do.
Yeah. So you talk about on your website about a conversion of heart, and you're working on the conversion of heart to our children, grandchildren, those who have fallen away. But in this instance, you're really talking about a conversion of the participant's heart. Talk a little bit about that, if you would, please. Why is that? Why is that so important?
We find that the most difficult part as a parent, especially a mom, is that we want to kind of fix things. And what we realized in this beautiful ministry is that God is the one that fixes things. He's the one that converts the hearts of our children. And we have a trust me prayer that reminds us that we need to trust God in his process of what he's working on in our children's hearts. And in so doing, our hearts are softened. The way we present is totally different. We have a beautiful part of this. This is not a support group. We don't talk about our kids. We don't. We only give the first and middle name. It's complete prayer. It's devotional prayer. It's rote prayer, it's singing praise, it's Lectio Divina. In this 1 hour, we do all different forms of prayer to create a conversion of heart. And it centers us in the meditational prayer, especially, to just know that we are not in control, that God has the plan. And I think the most beautiful part is the intentionality of our sowings and signs card. It's a postcard that we have the headspace of how are we sowing the seeds of of faith to somebody else's child, and on the other side it says, how are we seeing the signs of faith in our own? Sometimes we forget to look and be able to see, because we're so convoluted with what's going on with these children and the struggles that they have. We tend to hyper focus on that, and when we can see those small little glimmers of hope, it gives us powerful consolation, peace, and knowing that God is working.
So this is, like you said, it's prayer, and you don't even mention the full name of those you're praying for. It's not a support group. It's a prayer group, right?
Well, it's kind of a unique ministry in that respect, because a lot of times what you find is that support groups, that's what you can find a lot of, actually, or even the prayer groups, you can find that they chat. We have it's a very I don't want to say passive. It's more of an intimate process of being centered in the Lord. We do it in the church proper. We don't like to do it in a different location. It's required to be there for us. We prefer it in front of the sacrament. We and literally the first and middle name, because their names are so important. We post those so imperatively, so importantly. And every prayer has that involved in it. And when they go home, they have a prayer sheet. They put those names on, and those 4 women in the small group of meditational prayer will take those names. I say, put it on your refrigerator, on your bedside table, and pray every day for those children. And then they bring them back, and then we start again, and we get in different groups. So it's a beautiful process between all of us. And we found that most mothers, at least the ones we've always been working with, have been saying, this has been the consolation I have looked for. It has softened my heart towards my child's choices. Not that it's not good still, that it's softened the way that we respond to them. Have more compassion and understanding that God's plan, and they feel more reassured in that respect, right? My daughter, I have to say, says, keep going to Monica's mom. It's helping me feel safe in our conversations, which is good. That's a very beginning start. And then I can talk about the faith openly without feeling like she's defensive. It's been a blessing for me. I can promise you that.
Wow. That's really incredible. So how many communities are holding these meetings now?
Oh boy, I don't have the number. I know that we're in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 states now.
Wow.
Really exciting. In our diocese alone, there's 5, and they're going to keep moving. I can feel it. We're going to go talk to our bishop. We are a 501c3, so we did that just so that we could have the ability to do things, and we have a trademark on our name, because we wanted to make sure we could get it out there and keep it simple. Anybody can do this. Anybody can do this. It's free. We give all the details of all they have to do is have an open heart, and an ability to kind of lead something. But it's so beautiful. Anybody can do it. So that's the best part about it.
After we finish our conversation in just a couple of moments, we're going to be talking to Lucy, and Lucy has put together a group here in our diocese that meets at St. Patrick's Church in Wilmington, and we're going to be talking about it from a local level. So, from a national level, what has been the feedback that you've heard so far?
It's amazing, because we always say where 2 or 3 are gathered, the Lord is there. And so some of these are just going crazy with 50 to 60 people coming, in and participating. Others it's just 2 or 3. And we always say this is what God's plan is for each location. And we are so blessed with people saying over and over again, this has happened to create such consolation of my heart. I feel like that one woman said, this is the weekly peace that I can have. I need this once a week peace. It just gives me complete centered peace. And that's what we call it, an oasis of peace and prayer. So it's been a really great outcry of joy.
Just give us the website where people can get more information, if you would, please.
Sure. www.millionsofmonicas.com. Pretty simple. Millions of Monicas. MILLIONSOF Monicas.com.
Jane Van Houten, thanks so much for being with us today on Catholic Forum.
So happy to be here, Bob. Thanks so much for inviting me.
My next guest on Catholic Forum is a lady who has brought this Millions of Monicas program to the Diocese of Wilmington. And her name is Lucy Sneeringer. Lucy, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to be talking about where we meet here in our area and how people can get involved. Before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, please.
Sure. Well, I am a resident of Elkton, Maryland. I grew up in Newark, so I've lifelong been in the Diocese of Wilmington.
Yeah.
Our current parish is St. Patrick's. We attend mostly the Latin Mass. Love our parish, and I was just very excited that Father McQuaid so generously said we could do Millions of Monicas there.
Yeah.
He's very supportive.
Well, St. Patrick's has a very vibrant community. You know, with the Latin Mass, those masses are pretty much full,
Oh,
are
yes.
they not? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's beautiful, actually, to
Yeah.
see, especially so many young families and all of the kids. And a noisy Mass is a good Mass.
I agree 100%. So how did you hear about Millions of Monicas?
Sure. Well, it was actually through a Facebook group for Catholic moms. I was just scrolling through, and someone had mentioned something about Millions of Monicas with a website, and I thought, wow, I wonder if that has to do with St. Monica. I could really relate to St. Monica. We have a child who has been away from the faith, and it's very painful.
Yeah.
You know, so moms want to fix things, and I've learned through Millions of Monicas, fixing is not the answer, but we'll get there. So anyway, I contacted Millions of Monicas through their website. They have a contact page. And one of the leaders, not Jane Van Houten, but Jane White, called me, I think the next day.
Uh-huh.
And she told me what the ministry was about. She started reading for me one of the prayers that they use. And I just immediately, I'm not a crier, and I just started crying. It just touched me so deeply. And I just felt like this was what God was really calling me towards. And I had some confirmations of that at a retreat that weekend that I was on, which was a pretty amazing experience. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the situation that you're in, so many
Yeah.
people are in that situation. You know, I have 3 kids. They're not practicing their faith
Yeah.
the way their mom and I would like.
Yeah.
And it's really disheartening when you send a child to Catholic school,
Mm-hmm.
you have them baptized, you try to model the faith
Mm-hmm.
in the home, and then for whatever reason, and I guess if we could figure out the reasons, we would probably
Right.
be sainted ourselves. But
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But it is, I understand exactly where you're coming from. It's really difficult for parents.
So when and where do you meet?
We meet at St. Patrick's in the church on Monday evenings from 6:30 to 7:30. It's 1 hour, and we really stick to 1 hour. We pack a lot into 1 hour.
Yeah, and it's not, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking with Jane Van Houten, it's not a chat session. It's not a support group. You're there to pray.
Yes, exactly. And I think many people may be worried about coming because they feel like they have to share all this personal information. It's not a support group.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it's about. The only thing that we do share is our child's first and middle name.
Yeah.
And that's so that other moms can be praying for your child as well during the week. And it's really beautiful to know that other mothers are praying for your child along with you.
So walk us through a typical
Sure.
Monday evening session group. Service? What do you?
Prayer group.
Prayer group, yeah. Okay. Walk us
Right.
through.
So we meet in the church, and we begin with singing a song together. I bring a little speaker and play a song, and we have the lyrics. And I'm certainly not a singer, but we just do our best. We sing a song together, and then we listen for, it's usually 10 to 12 minutes actually, to a meditation based on that day's reading. It's through the Pray As You Go app. So it's kind of like Lectio Divina. So there is a little bit of music, and it's time to listen to the reading, to meditate on it. And then we pray a prayer together. We stand together and pray a prayer together. And then we do something called it's signs and sewings cards, where we fill out just writing for ourselves. No one else reads this, but any signs that we may have seen in terms of movement of the faith in our child, no matter how small. And then sewings, how we, in the past week, have been able to share the faith with others in small ways. So we fill those out.
Not necessarily your child that you're praying for, but anyone.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's all about our interior work. I was saying how mothers, we want to fix things, but honestly, I've learned through this ministry, it's not about fixing anything. It's about changing me, changing my heart, growing in holiness and humility, which in turn helps me to relate better to my child. In a way that perhaps can keep them open to returning to the faith. Anyway, sorry, got off track.
No, that's fine.
So then we say another prayer together, and then we do what we call the small group session, where we get into groups of 4. This really only takes 5 minutes. One mother will hold a crucifix, and she's given a meditation to think about and pray about silently, while the other 3 mothers are praying for her child. So we give their name, and then we each get a chance to do that. It's very beautiful. It's very peaceful. It gives the mom, a few minutes of quiet meditation on that week's selection, and while the other mothers are praying for that mother's child. And then we encourage each mom to please pray for these children throughout the week as well. And then we say another prayer together. Then we say the rosary for the intention of our children's return to the faith. Say another prayer, conclude with a song, and we're done. Takes 1 hour.
Yeah. And there's no donuts or coffee
Nothing.
or anything afterwards. You're there
Nothing.
To pray
We are there to pray, and we go home. Yes.
Which is good. I mean, people should know what the
Yes.
expectation
Absolutely.
is. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you want the end result to be?
Well, of course, everyone would love the end result would be for their child to come back. But let's face it, St. Monica, how many years did she pray for her child?
Yeah.
And it may be never in my lifetime. But honestly, my prayer is that it is. But this is to give me peace. It helps me to surrender.
Right.
That's what it's been about, is my surrendering this to the Lord,
Right.
who loves my daughter infinitely more than I can imagine.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's beautiful. You're praying for your child, but you're praying for yourself, for that interior change as well.
Absolutely.
Do you have any? I know you're just kind of starting this. I mean, the whole ministry is pretty new.
It is pretty new.
Have you heard any stories that you could share of conversions or
So
anything?
I have myself already. I won't go into it, but I have seen some movement with our child, and that has happened for other people as well. The interesting thing is, right now at St. Patrick's, there's only a handful of us that go every week. I would love to be able to help other parishes to begin this. And in the next few weeks, I'm actually going to be hand delivering packets to every church in the county with an envelope with a poster, with flyers, with a letter from Father McQuaid, as well as bulletin announcements, pulpit announcements, to encourage other parishes to start this as well. And I'm happy to help. The Millions of Monica's organization makes it very easy for people to get started. I brought, this is the binder.
Yeah.
They give you a binder. There is a procedure you have to go through with them. It takes just a Zoom call, some paperwork, and then of course your pastor has to be on board. And there's actually provide a website with a special link just for priests to go and to look at exactly what Millions of Monica's is all about. So
That's terrific. So if our listeners want to get more information, they can go to millionsofmonicas.com.
yes.
Or can they contact you, or can they just show up at St. Patrick's?
They can just show up at St. Patrick's. They could also email me at Lucy, lucy.millionsofmonicas@gmail.com. And I'm happy to converse with them that way. Or they could get in touch with Millions of Monicas directly on the website and get information that way.
Or go to St. Patrick's?
Exactly. St. Patrick's Monday nights at 6:30.
And that's on King Street?
It is, King Street in Wilmington.
Yeah, very good. Well, Lucy Sneeringer, thanks so much for taking time to be with
You're
us
welcome.
today on Catholic Forum, and may God bless you
Thank
and
you so much.
all the moms who are praying, and for all of the children that are being prayed for.
Thank you so much for having me.